Hello, I'm Joel.
And I'm Alex.
Welcome to the Commander's Journey, the place where we discuss our favorite format of Magic, Commander, from the perspective of a new player
and an experienced one.
And this journey is for Magic players interested in Commander.
It's been a big year, Joel.
It's been an awesome year. It's been a great year for me. First year in Magic.
About to say, congratulations. We'll have to celebrate the first birthday when it comes around.
Well, that's in February. I wonder if I can go back and figure out which day of February I started playing Magic.
I remember being near the spoilers for the other, what was it? War of the Spark.
It was right prior to that. That's right. So today we're gonna look back on 2019, talking about it. If you guys have listened to any of our podcasts, you know that I'm the new player. Alex is the experienced one. I just started playing this year. So 2019 is going to be fun to talk about because this is literally my first year into Magic and in Commander. So let's talk about that. What did we love about Commander this year?
So we each did our top 3 things we really appreciated. And it's more of an overview type of thing, what we like. We'll maybe go into a little more details on specific things. But starting with my number 3, what I really liked about this year was that we're starting to see Planeswalkers breaking into our format. I mean, and there's been a few here or there, but it really felt with War of the Spark that just started kicking the doors down, and I'm seeing a Planeswalker in almost every deck, one of them, or, I'm seeing them in actual play versus an odd circumstance kind of thing.
So instead of being like a rarity, they're just more common now. There's a lot more of them.
Well, exactly. And I kind of really liked what they did with War of the Spark in that they made them more niche. Not every deck wants every one. There's not like an overarching one. Usually they're all kind of small enough effects that if your deck wants that, it's fantastic. And if it doesn't, you can easily pass over it. You don't feel for it at all. I know one of the cards that's probably the closest to an overarching great card that you might want to see in more decks would be something like Liliana Dreadhorde General, which is 4 black and a black for legendary Planeswalker Liliana. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card, which is the only thing you really care about. But the other things are just gravy, such as create a 2/2 black zombie token for +1. For -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. For -9, if you ever get that far, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifice the rest, and it comes in with 6 loyalty.
Yeah, Liliana's nuts. I think definitely a card you want to see in most of your black decks, just because that first static effect, like you said, whenever a creature you control dies, you draw a card. And in black, there's so many different ways in which you either want to kill your own cards or cards get killed. And Liliana's nuts.
It's fantastic. But really what I want to focus on, that was just an example, but the fact that we're seeing, a lot of these even uncommon Planeswalkers that were from the set in play, I think that's really cool.
I think that's how they were able to make them so niche, because they made them uncommon, right? So they didn't have to have 3 effects. They could just have 2 effects or a static ability. So it was kind of like a Planeswalker, but it was also an enchantment. It did a little something, but really had a static ability you want in those colors. Yeah. A little more playable, I think, especially in Commander.
Well, exactly right. I really, it's fun seeing them across the table. There's no else way to say it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, Planeswalkers are cool. So when I first started playing, I think my brother was trying to explain to me that as the player, I'm the Planeswalker.
Yeah,
playing the game. I was like, well, then why are there Planeswalker cards?
You bribe them.
You what?
You're bribing them.
You're bribing them?
You're bribing them. You're like, hey, I'll give you 6 mana if you help out. And in theory, their loyalty abilities are like how they would fight in that scenario
how
alongside
loyal they would be to you. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. I'm kind of piggybacking. So for your number 3, talking about these same Planeswalkers, my number 3 really is just War of the Spark as a whole. One of my favorite things about Commander this year. I'm kind of biased because it was my first pre-release, and it was really my introduction into paper Magic. Like, I was playing Arena for about a month or so prior to War of the Spark coming out, and when I didn't realize like how sets were released or anything, so I was researching it. And when I saw that, like, I want to do my first pre-release, and you had that same weekend off, so we both went, and it was a blast. It was fun. I bought a box. I was stoked opening that. So that was like my introduction. That was the way I got into it. I, of course, had a few packs prior to that, but like War of the Spark really is my beginnings in Magic.
Definitely think War of the Spark is going to go down in history, along with a couple other sets like Dominaria more recently. I'm thinking back to Innistrad as one of the best sets in Magic. I'm claiming it right now.
See, and then my expectations are put so high because it was the first set I ever played with that now, Wizards of the Coast got to hit one out of the park each time now.
Yep. No going backwards.
No going backwards. So those are number threes are kind of similar. We're just, that Planeswalkers, seeing more play in Commander, and a War of the Spark itself, just the whole set just added so much to the format. Added so much to Magic, but, we see a lot more of these niche Planeswalkers in play. Play groups.
And since we're both Commander focused, I think we're going to see some overlap. And if we do these from years going forward, I think we'll find that we'll have a little bit of overlap in that we both liked certain things and just go into detail. Certain things we just like better,
Yep.
So my number 2, I wrote down just Commander 2019, which is very vague, and it was a great set. I really like it returned to the power level that we saw, because the 2018 ones I did not think were great. I think we kind of got close to 2017 ones, and it did in an interesting way where I think it looked weaker than it actually was. I think Kadena I still think can be played pretty much out of the bag at a competitive level. God knows you don't need to do much to gear it either to make it just
plays well,
powerful. But I think I like that. But really, what I wanted to say, what I liked most about the Commander 2019 set is the realization on Wizards' end that Commander can actually be used as an introductory product. And just so everyone knows, we make notes. I literally underlined introductory. It just, we're podcast for new players right there.
Yeah, and I'm the evidence of that purely. Like when I just started playing this game this year, and Arena was fun, and Arena is great. And when I jumped into Arena, one thing I noticed was I was getting my butt kicked by certain kinds of players, right? Because they have a lot more experience than I do. So if I was being milled or I was being burned or things like that were happening to me, I was just frustrated as a new player. Loved the game. Kept building decks, playing. And when my brother said, you should play Commander, I was like, okay. I had no idea what I was jumping into. So he started showing me how to play. And I think he gave me a pre-con deck, and I started playing and learning the game. And what's just nuts about it is it's really the first decks I was building, the first thing. So it was introductory to me. And like Commander, it takes a bit of commitment to learn it, but it's so much fun, I think, to learn it. And I think the creative aspect of building Commander decks to me was the fun part. Like the decks I played in Arena, or like when I play a person, I felt like I had to build the decks more competitively in order to stand a chance. So I'd take certain cards out of my deck and put certain cards in just for that reason. But when I build Commander decks, I feel like, I get to put that cool card that looks like this or does that cool thing. So it's definitely introductory.
Well, I think it's one of those things too. The hardest part about it is there is 100 cards, and every card is different. That is the hardest part. There is a lot of reading early on. But once you get past that issue specifically, it is the ideal thing for a new player in that, when you're playing with other Magic cards, and players are trying to construct their decks for the first time, or they're looking at cards and say, hey, I like that, I don't like that. You kind of, a more experienced player will look at someone where they're trying to help with the standard deck and say, you don't want to do that, it's not strong enough, or you don't want to do that, it doesn't quite have a power level. And in Commander, there is a little bit of that, but mostly what it is that they call it magical Christmas land, but it's the ideal thing that your deck wants to do. You do all the time, and the fact that it's so focused because it's a casual format on having fun more than anything else, I think really makes everyone have a great time.
Well, I think that's what Magic wants to be anyways. It like any game, it wants to be a lot of fun. So yeah, if 2019 those Commander products really were, all those decks are fun to play.
I literally think if Commander 2019 bombed and they didn't get that realization, we would be in a lot worse off situation, without a doubt, for our format. The fact that they realized that, I think, even if, let's say, Commander 2019 sucked, but they realized that was an introductory product, that being the biggest takeaway from that set, I feel is what matters the most.
Yeah, and not to jump the gun, but in a way, C19 Commander 19 is they're ramping up to next year.
We will see. I'm
And
excited.
that's what I'm hoping for. So my number two thing that I think was the coolest thing this year was just all the awesome new commanders that we were given. Yara, Kadena, Corval, Teysa. There were just so many awesome commanders. And again, like this is my first year. I've built a bunch of these. So Teysa Karlov, Yark, the Desecrated, Corval, Fake Hearst King. I've built these decks, and they're so much fun to play. And I think the fact that we're getting new commanders every year, and I'm looking forward to the next year's. Like again, I haven't been around in the past, but the fact that we get such synergistic, cool, awesome commanders this year makes me excited for next year to see what commanders they're going to bring out. Then it's just going to inspire me to make more decks. So yeah, these especially
Yeah, and I'm going to pivot off that too into my number one. My biggest thing from 2019 is the shift that R&D made to make a lot more cards aimed at Commander. That includes legendary creatures. And my example of that is if you take a look at this year's amount of legendary creatures, I just did a quick search on Scryfall for all the sets that came out. I counted 90 new legendary creatures from this year. And that is a lot. And I promise you, I didn't do it the other years, but I know it's more. I know for a fact it's more. I am so confident in that. It feels a lot more of them are commanded oriented and commander playable. Like they're meant to have a deck built around them. They are meant with commander players in mind. And that's what my number one is the fact that R&D is now saying we need to put a card for commander in there. We know we need to look around. My example, Smothering Tithe, they're fixing white up a little bit. That was a really big deal for white in the format. Stuff in like Modern Horizons when they did Morophon. If you want to have your crazy, tribal deck for your underrepresented type, you want to have that goat deck, boom, you have it. You want to have that, Nautilus deck, you have it. I want to come up with more crazy creature types. Off the top of my head, but just whatever random crazy deck you have.
Monkey snake.
Yeah, monkey snake deck. I don't have a snake deck, guys. I don't have a monkey deck, guys. I have a monkey snake deck. You're like, yeah, you can totally do that with that commander, and that is not for anybody else but a commander player. No modern deck is playing Morophon. It is for commander that exists.
But it didn't come out in a commander set. It came out in a Modern Horizons.
Exactly. We didn't have a commander set, and next year we finally will have it.
Yeah.
But there really isn't. Besides the commander, decks every time. We got a couple legendary creatures here or there. Sometimes they were focused with commander, sometimes they weren't. But people were joking. Modern Horizons came out. It was Commander Horizons. There's so many commander playable cards, and I think especially when you look at Core 2020, even at War of the Spark or Throne of Eldraine, a little less so, but same thing. They really were thinking about a couple good commanders in each of those sets to build around.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's funny because the cards we just pulled up to look at and we've been mentioning, they're all from different sets, but they're all from this year. And they're all really good.
They're all from this year, and they were all built with commander in mind. I'm 100% certain of it. You don't make an enter the battlefield triggering twice deck in anything but commander. That's not like man. And Corval on the other hand is meant with it in mind, but it's seeing standard play right now. As we're recording this, there's a standard deck with Corval that is so good, and
such a good
but
card.
it's meant. They built it for Brawl, but it is for Commander.
Well, I'm gonna pivot right to my number one because you were talking about that, and my number one is Brawl. I think one of the best things that happened for Commander this year is Brawl, and I was thinking about Corvold, but I just think that Brawl is the true gateway drug for aspiring Commander players. And it's on Arena. And I think it's very important because we might not ever see Commander come to Arena, or it's harder to do a casual multiplayer format online. But the fact that Brawl is so similar to Commander, it's 1v1, it's 60, but it's you got a Commander, you can only have one of each card. It's so similar. And Corval was so much fun to play with. And I was surprised because I remember we were looking at all the different Brawl decks. my brother, he was like, "Oh, over here they're selling them for like $20." He was going to Target and GameStop and like, "Which ones do you want? These are the ones that are here." And like he was trying to grab a bunch. And I remember I was thinking, I want Tulane. And I want, what's the fairy one? I said, give me the fairy one. Give me Tulane. He said, all they had was Corval. And I was like, okay, give me that one. But he's like one of my favorite cards to play with. Now, I played it. I think when I played it, I realized how awesome, how cool and fun it was. But I think Brawl overall is just such a, I think it's an important, I think it's a great format, but I think it's important for Commander players because it helps those people that are more on the competitive side kind of get that gateway into what Commander is.
Well, exactly. And, you know, literally, what's nice is, again, we talked about the initial hurdle of reading so much because it's standard only cards. You're playing with a lot more commons, uncommons, less reading in theory, and, you know, less card availability in terms of card selection. So there's that too. So, you know, you see the same card in probably multiple different decks, and then, you know, you can pivot in that to actual Commander. I think it's fantastic. My only complaint is Wizards do not charge for Arena. Brawl on Arena. I think that is a misstep on their part. This is what they're talking about that right now. They started charging for it, which
I haven't played it for a few weeks. It was still free when I was playing.
They might still do the free like Brawl Wednesdays or whatever.
Wednesdays, yeah.
But if you can play it the whole time, but you have to pay like a monthly subscription fee, which I think is a misstep on their part. That's our hot take from the Commander's journey.
There you go.
You know, Wizards, if you're listening, don't charge for Brawl. Help our format out.
Yeah, I think Brawl is so important to Commander, and I think it's just a great format. All the formats, like if they're good formats, if they're fun to play, they're Magic. That's Magic, and they shouldn't be in competition with each other. But a format like Brawl to me is such a great complementary format to Commander. And people who are not used to Commander or necessarily want to play that, they're more competitive, say, and they get their hands on playing a little bit of Brawl, they might be like, well, you know, Brawl's fun. I bet you Commander will be fun too.
Commander is Brawl on steroids. I don't know what else to say. It is
pretty much
turned to the nines, you know.
It's
turned up to 11.
Turned up to 11. That's exactly what it is. All right, and now the part of the show where we ramp up. We're going to look forward for our ramp up section. Look forward to, what do we look forward to most in Commander in the next year, in 2020? So from each of us.
Exactly. So if I'm saying an individual product, it'd probably be Commander Legends. But really what I'm looking forward to the most as an individual thing is how they deal with the color pie going forward. And specifically, I have my eye towards white. That has been a big discussion in the Commander community in the last few months.
White needs some help.
White needs some help. We all know it does. They've started the process that we've seen the wheels turning, even though I don't think Happily Ever After is a very good card. That is a card where I know they specifically were trying to introduce maybe some new mechanics to white that still fit within the color pie but help Commander. I think more of that is good. I don't think necessarily that's the best answer, but more of trying to find. Yeah, exactly. We don't want to break the color pie. We just need to find a way to make it more viable. And then the other colors I'm looking at too right now is, you know, red has really kind of hit its stride in the last year. I almost thought about that in my top 3 for things like red's hit its stride because it used to be looked at in the same vein white is now, and it's really not. You can get away with a lot of good white stuff. They fixed red for the most part in the format. And the last thing I wanted to say too is how they're going to do black in the future. Mark Rosewater said black is going to start slowly getting a little more enchantment removal. It's going to be not very good, he said, but it's going to get a little bit of it. I'm curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, it's interesting because you want the colors, you know, depending on what your Commander. And Commander is great because usually you have Commanders that have 2, 3, or 4, or even 5 colors, which makes it so you can maybe have a little more balance in your deck. You're not usually running mono, but mono is still fun. I'm building my first mono Commander deck right now with Ayara, and mono is still fun, and it's hard to find all those answers in all the different categories. So, yeah, we'll see what they can do with white, huh? What other good white cards besides Smothering Tithe and
Well, that's
Happily
kind of
Ever
the thing.
After?
There's a couple. I mean, Happily Ever, I don't think is a good card, but I like the direction they're trying to go with when they do it. You know, but Smothering Tithe is the big standout. I mean, they have a few other times they've hit it well, like Mentor of the Meek, and you know, some other ones where they gave white card draw, but in niche examples, or they gave it ramp in really a niche way, like land tax or something. They've printed a couple ones, but I feel like more they need to find a permanent home for it in Commander, where it's not a support color anymore with board wipes and removal. It's an actual, you can build a mono white deck and you're not struggling to function.
Well, I know white struggles with ramp a lot, right? And that's where the Smothering Tithe comes in. But are there other ways they can possibly ramp in white?
Is land tax and Smothering Tithe. There's a few creatures. I don't have them in front of me. There's one of the lions has a Knight of the White Orchard. That's one, or White Orchid. I'm sorry. There's a couple ones that put planes into your hands, and that's something that's in White's color palette. And I think that will get you to somewhere where you need to go. That's better than nothing. But I mean, when Smothering Tithe came out, if you were playing mono white, you could see the difference
Yeah.
instantaneously.
I guess it would break the color pie if they tried to do like enchanting lands. Because I know there's enchantments in white, but
Well, maybe that is their workaround. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of, they have a better grasp on what they want the color pie to do and function with. I am curious to see. Maybe this needs to be an episode of itself. It's white and Commander. Everyone's doing it. Maybe we should just get on board.
okay, maybe we should. Okay, so for me looking forward, I'm thinking of having new Commander decks made several times during the year for new players to enter the format. So basically, like all these different decks being released with Ikoria and Commander Legends, and they're releasing. You know, last year they released Commander C19 was 4 decks, right?
Yeah.
But now there's like, how many totals are 9, 5, and then 2. So it's like,
I was in the minority. In 2016, there were 5 decks, so they were going based on color. 2017, they moved to 4 decks and then had different types. I was sad, and now they've gone completely the opposite way. I think we're in. I think it's 9. Joel.
I think 9, yeah.
9.
Yeah, 9 decks. So what's cool for me, what I'm thinking about, what's exciting for me in 2020 is at every point, like almost every 3 months, there's going to be new Commander decks pre-made for me that I can buy if I want to. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to buy up everything. I don't, own all the horses on the hill, but yeah, if I did. But you have that, and that's really exciting for new Commander players. So if there's somebody that wants to get into it, I was just talking about Brawl and how that's kind of like a gateway drug or an entryway. But now you got multiple Commander decks throughout the year that correspond with the rest of the sets. So that's exciting to me. So if there's somebody who's used to play Modern or Pauper, or I guess it's not Modern anymore. It's
Modern still exists,
Not Modern,
but Pioneer is
Pioneer.
the new fun one that everyone has their eye on.
So, but anyway, just moving forward, I think there'll be a lot more opportunities for people to play Commander this year.
I'm very excited for that too, Joel. I'm really hoping I've gotten a couple of pre-cons, but I kind of have been stripping them apart. I want to find one that I really fall in love with, and I'm looking forward to this next year to do it.
Yeah, I need to be committed and buy a pre-con and just not touch it, just play it as it is.
Well, it's one of those things. I'm a big believer in making tweaks to it, but like I attached to Traxa early on. Thank God before it went up in price. Yeah. I attached to a couple of the pre-cons really early on in my career, and those ones have stayed fairly intact. And then I like building them from scratch too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's something about having a pre-con deck. You kind of feel like you're coming to the table with something a little more fair. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Something that's you're going to build a deck and it's not going to break the bank.
Exactly. And then you could just like swap out several cards and you got something a little more competitive you can play with your play group. It's fun.
It's fantastic. And again, I swap at like 20 cards and I'm a happy camper.
Yep. And now, of course, everybody's looking forward to the end of next year when we get Commander Legends.
I'm excited. I'm excited for a lot of that. Holy cow. It's going to be a good Commander year, that's for sure.
2020 better be the best year for Commander, because if not...
But then they got to top it again, Joel.
No, they don't.
2021 has to be better.
They don't have to top it. All they got to do is they'll find them their even keel. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. All right, well, that'll do it for this episode. We look forward to talking to you guys more in this next year. Another thing we're excited about is just making more content, doing better each and every week, bringing more awesome stuff to you guys. So leave a comment below, follow us, and just, yeah, hope you enjoyed the show.
See you.